Well, we wanted to bring in some more perspective on this youth crime dialogue that we're having in our community right now. We wanted to bring in Darryl Bego with Youth Development Initiatives, and this is a group that works closely with kids who are at risk. And Darryl, you have so much perspective on how to turn these kids' lives around. We just wanted to speak with you about some of the, I guess, threads, if you will, for this very layered and very complicated issue that we're seeing in our community. So just first of all, I'd like to give folks a little bit of a background on youth development initiatives, because I understand you do work with many kids, including kids who are referred to you by the juvenile justice system, right?
Yeah, absolutely. YDI is a program that's been around. We're going on our 20th year, but a lot of people haven't heard as much about us because we've really been on the front lines at the ground and grassroots levels, really deriving data. And so now that message is getting out, which is why Vanessa, you guys know about us. And we're now seeing some key ways that we can make a difference with all at-risk youth and even those who are involved with juvenile justice.
I mean, one of the big dialogues that we're seeing is coming mainly, we're seeing from law enforcement departments. So, for example, CMPD, we've heard some discussion, from Rowan Sheriff in the wake of there was a fight amongst youth over at the Cheerwine Festival that resulted in some law enforcement officers getting hurt. But, I mean, there have been some points raised by law enforcement that sometimes when they end up charging a minor, let's say for a crime, they try to get what's called secured custody orders. And in a lot of cases, we're hearing from police, those custody orders are denied, and the child inevitably gets released to the parents. And in some cases, we see the kids go back out while they're still waiting for, let's just say, a court date for the first crime, and they're out committing other crimes. And I guess, what is your perspective on that? Because it feels like this is a delicate balance between wanting to maybe not initially lock up a child, if you will, but also trying to make sure that the community is safe in the meantime.
Yeah, well, there's a dichotomy going on with that, Vanessa, because one, the kids are gaming the system. I mean, they know the law sometimes better than some of us. And the second of all is guidance, that will steer them away to alternatives to violence and crime and so forth and so on. And so, as they're waiting, they feel like they're going to potentially get just a hand slap. So they feel like they're underage and they're not going to be referred to adult court. So they continue on with the same behavior. So what we have to do is really provide comprehensive programming that's collaborative, that really centers around the research that's out there, such as mental health, academic enrichment. But a big one is employability skills, because adolescent brain development shows that these kids at the age of 14 and 16 is in the highest risk-taking phase. If there's not alternatives that center around, for example, educational attainment and employability, then they are really led to alternatives, which is crime and violence.
Now, through your program, we've seen in some cases you'll work with these kids. You'll learn kind of what sparks their passions. You'll deal with them in ways where they learn how to express their emotions in a healthy way, to even talk about their emotions, which it sounds like in some cases these kids are not even equipped. They've never been taught how to express themselves, and so we see some of that work with your programs. Can you talk about some of the ways that you work with these kids and how you see that improving their futures?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that really is a deficiency amongst our kids is their ability to express themselves positively and kind of in a planning type manner. We do something called biosketching, where we really address the kids' deficiencies relative to, like, maybe adverse childhood experiences and things that are kind of guiding their mindset toward negativity in the present. So we kind of go back, and then through our relationship building, we build trust. And one of the things that we're seeking to accomplish, first of all, is to build self-awareness in them. So we'll take assessments that are very subjective, because we want them to be the primary architects of their own future, so that they understand self-efficacy. And so by the time that we're done with them, our kids can answer three core questions: who am I? What do I want in life, and how do I go about it? So by taking them through that developmental process where they're the focus of it, it's amazing how they begin to attribute the fact that if it is to be, it is up to me. They have to move forward. But it takes intentional effort to do that and to engage them in communication that centers around them so that they feel that there's a support element and some structure around them building the skill sets that they need to make that future a possibility.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the things that you've mentioned before, maybe in the context of, trying to keep youth out of gangs or remove them from gang ties, if you will, the fact that it's important to give them connections outside of that, give them ways to maybe even just make money, if that's what they're looking to do outside of, a gang lifestyle, if you will.
Yeah, well, employment addresses a tangible need, and that is some of these kids are the poorest kids and most vulnerable kids in our community, and so sometimes they have shame and they have some issues around the fact that they can't purchase or have their most basic needs covered. For example, like 80-90% of our kids, their only meal that they get beyond high school, when they leave school, is our program. So we have to feed them. So that's a tangible need. Well, if they have funding, they can not only pay for things themselves, but they also can contribute to the budget or the finances of the household, which is a key thing, and most of them are willing to do it. And what we have found, Vanessa, is that they will take on a legitimate opportunity that pays less than crime if it's given to them strategically in an structured way that where they feel like they can gain the dignity without all of the rigmarole of juvenile crime. But it needs to be intentional, and it needs to be skill based, and it needs to be comprehensive.
I wanted to talk about a recent case that has really brought youth crime to the forefront for the Charlotte community, and I explained a bit about this to you when we were speaking offline, but the fact that there was a young woman who was moving out of her apartment complex back in April. She had her car loaded up with some of her moving boxes and her dog Julio, and someone, while she turned around to basically grab more boxes to load up, someone jumped into her car and drove away with that vehicle with her dog inside, and there was a bit of investigation. The car was eventually found. A couple of minors were told were charged with the actual theft of the car. And just recently, the mother of one of the juveniles has been arrested for basically having stolen property. We presume this to include the dog Julio, who actually is still missing. And people are very, very upset with this situation in the community. I think based, obviously on the heartbreak that they understand this young woman going through, not being able to get her dog back, but also just the frustration that they feel like law enforcement is obviously sniffing down the right path, but for some reason can't make folks tell them where this dog is. And I mean, as far as that element of the youth crime and potentially having a parent involved, I'm just curious on your take on like, how can you get kids and parents equally involved in I don't want to say like the emotional recovery process here, but I mean, it is drawing some questions from the community about parental involvement, I guess, in this particular case.
Yeah, well, one issue that's growing even more concerning in Charlotte Mecklenburg is the fact that you have an increasing number of parents who are unwilling and unable to kind of provide guidance and advisory or supervisory for their kids. And a lot of that has to do with natural brain development, because this is a phase of life where a lot of these teenagers between 13 and 17 are kind of pushing away from their parents, which is natural, in them trying to gain their independence. But at the same time, it's really frustrating for the parents because there's not a lot of alternatives in the community that's going to point them back to the positive values of the positive parents. Now, make no bones about it, there are some parents who are just negligent. I mean, they need to be held accountable for some of the deeds that their kids perpetrate because of their unwillingness to apply discipline or to be involved. But I'm finding there's a lion's share of parents who want to do better or want to help their kids, which is why we have a Family Life Skills Academy program to kind of reinstate that relationship component and equip the parents with the tools so that they can better communicate with the kid. But think about it, a lot of parents can't help their kids get somewhere they've never been. So if the parents are undereducated and underemployed, they feel like they're not equipped to really guide their students. And so they're relying on external factors that aren't there, unfortunately, to support their kids. So that's a big deal, is that really bringing parents of adolescent kids closer together, because we've also noticed in many times they both have the same deficiencies. So by serving them both collectively as well as individually, so that they build those relationships where parents can be better accountability partners, advisors, as well as advocates, then I think we will see some of these things change and some of these things turn.
What would you say to the community who's watching this right now about how they can best get involved, how they could best tackle this issue if they feel like this is something that is important to them and they want to be part of a solution?
Yeah, get involved. I mean, get involved, mentor, get involved by providing support of your time, talent, and treasures in terms of helping these young people, because they're at a phase of life, not only, as I mentioned, is a highest risk-taking phase, but they're at a phase of life that many of these kids who are committing these crimes need what's called a parafamilial relationship. That means a relationship outside of family temporarily until the parents can be reacquainted with their teenagers, because their teenagers may not listen to them right now, but they'll listen to another caring adult in a structured environment that's going to help provide support and guidance to aspirations that they've suddenly found themselves have, which is going to help reconnect them to the classroom, reconnect them to the community and or college, the workforce, or the military. And so that's where structured mentoring is really important, but you have to have volunteers. The kids need to see that the community is engaged and that the community values them becoming constructive and positive influences and impactors in the community by getting involved in meaningful and measurable ways.
Darryl, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We hope to have you back here on Live Impact News.
My pleasure. Hey, we can do this, community. We can do this.
Fabulous. Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll have you back on to chat again sometime soon. We'll remind folks at home, youth development initiatives, you can actually learn more about the organization which Darryl founded on our website, WCNC.com, and inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app. We've been proud to profile some of the work that you've done and some of the success stories, too, with some of these kids. So that's been really great to see, Darryl.
Well, thank you for the support, and we appreciate it. I'm available anytime to help out.
All right. Thank you, and take care.